Welcome to That's Time, a speech and debate podcast.
Because there aren't any.
We're your hosts, Astrid
and McCartney.
And welcome to this month's speech episode of That's Time.
Let's go!
As a side note, we apologize for the wait on this episode. We were both really sick with 3 different colds and our technical difficulties with YouTube, but we are back on track now and will resume our regular uploading schedule. So, let's go ahead and start with a recap of all the latest in the speech and debate world. Hey McCartney, would you start us off with a quick, non-sponsored off-time news report?
This just in, we have a flooding amount of new reports from the NSDA. To start, the NSDA has announced a live Q&A with award-winning actor, singer, and comedian Josh Gad on the 20th of February at 4 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Make sure you don't miss it, live on Instagram. Speaking of alumni, we'd like to give a very late, happy Speech and Debate Alumni Week. Yes, this was almost 3 weeks ago, but I digress. Apart from NSDA news, let's take some time to recognize the important people in the speech and debate world. Astrid, will you take it away with our Speech and Debate Nerd of the Week award?
Of course! For those who don't know, McCartney and I created a Nerd of the Week award to celebrate the achievements of our peers. We choose someone new each episode. And this week, we'd like to recognize some hardworking performers and our personal favorite HD rivals, Singleton and JAKSON! They have destroyed the competition in the OSSAA speech and debate circuit this year, and we can't wait to see what else they can achieve. As per usual, in our next episode, we will be handing this award over to another person, so feel free to send us nominations through our Instagram DMs at That's Time Speech and Debate.
Peer pressure, peer pressure, peer pressure! Nobody gets that reference, but Singleton and JAKSON will. Speaking of successes, specifically in debate, what are the current debate topics anyway?
Amazing question. Let's go ahead and take a look. Starting off with the Lincoln-Douglas debate topic for January and February of 2025, it is resolved. The United States ought to become party to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and/or the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. The Lincoln-Douglas 2025 March and April topic is resolved. The development of artificial intelligence is immoral. And finally, the Lincoln-Douglas debate novice topic is resolved. In the United States, national service ought to be mandatory. McCartney, could you read us our PF topics?
Yes. Our February of 2025 public forum debate topic is resolved. The United States should accede to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. And the March topic for 2025 in PF is resolved. In the United States, the benefits of the use of generative artificial intelligence in education outweigh the harms.
Awesome. Now moving on to the policy debate topic, which, yes, is the same as it was last time. It is just resolved. The United States federal government should significantly strengthen its protection in intellectual property rights, copyrights, patents, and/or trademarks. Also, along with policy debate, the 2025 and 2026 topic was actually just released, so we'll go ahead and read that too. It reads, resolved. The United States federal government should significantly increase its exploration and/or development of the Arctic. McCartney, will you close us out with BQ?
Yes, so our big questions topic is just a recap, but in case you forgot, the 2024 through 2025 BQ resolution is resolved. Creativity is a more powerful force than intelligence.
Awesome! And for those of you who are curious about Congress or extemp or world schools, we don't have specific topics or legislation for Congress because it just depends on your state and or district, but we are wishing you all luck and there are resources online that we will link that you guys can click on to get a little bit of an example of these.
Now that we know all the debate topics, let's hop back on the speech train. Choo-choo! Because today is all about me and Astrid's favorite event, HD, and how we personally go about this event. Let's go!
So, what actually is HD, McCartney?
HD, or humorous duet, is obviously a duet speech that you do with a partner, and you essentially just find a pre-written script and turn it into a 10-minute speech that you do with your friend, and it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah, basically. You can cut movies, TV shows.
I've seen musicals cut into a HD
Oh, I
script.
forgot about that. Yes, I saw someone do, we both saw it. It was...
Ride the Cyclone.
Ride the Cyclone,
Yes.
thank you, yes. It was really good. So you can do, like, honestly, just such a wide range of different things. We saw one, it's like a fast food tale or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
That's actually kind of my favorite script I've ever seen, I think.
We've seen the Lorax.
Oh, I forgot about the Lorax!
We've seen the Lorax.
I love the Lorax. So people cut a wide range of different things, but as long as it's, like, a partner script that you can do as a duo that's funny, it basically qualifies into humorous
it's
duet.
pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Unlike, I feel like a debate event where they're super strict on, like, I guess, rules and stuff. Humorous duet obviously has restrictions, but not like debate does, if that makes sense.
Well, it's also speech, so it's like...
Exactly.
Yeah. It's wildly different.
They are wildly different. I think it's always weird whenever, like, other teams, at least I've heard, have, like, speech and debate as, like, separate classes. At least at our school, the speech and debate team is together. Almost everyone on our team does speech and debate.
Yeah.
We do all of it. We do extemp and also, like, everything else.
Yeah.
We love extemp
We
love extemp!
Shout out to extemp!
Shout out to extemp. But we're getting a little off
We're getting kind of off topic. Okay.
Anyway, back to HD. Me and McCartney are a little more experienced with it because we've been doing it this whole year pretty much.
Yes, so hopefully our information will be way better than it was in the last episode.
Let's hope, yeah. Our script this year is called Camp Bigfoot. It's fire.
I love it so much. It's so fun to do.
It's really great. And so today we're gonna kind of, I guess, pretty much just, like, walk you through the process of how we do our HD, so what you look for in a script, and then blocking, partner chemistry, and stuff like that. And then we'll just close out with our own personal tips and tricks, specifically talking about what judges look for.
Oh, yes.
In humorous duet, there are some very specific things that judges will look for that we're going to talk about today to give you a little helpful tip, if you will.
Yes.
If you will. So, let's talk scripts. Because scripts!
Let's go!
Scripts are complicated because everybody likes something different.
That's so true. Obviously in HD, your script should be funny.
Duh.
But I think we should go over at least our personal wants, needs, and wishes within a script to kind of give you guys our own insight or advice on what you should look for.
Exactly. So basically, me and McCartney were talking about our HD the other day because we're getting ready to take it to districts, and like McCartney said, we came up with a system called needs, wants, and wishes. Yes, I did steal that from my physics teacher's syllabus, but it was on there. It
was on ours too in
Earth and Space.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's basically a system that we use. So, for instance, our needs in a script, everyone's going to be different, but for me, my needs in a humorous duet script, it needs to be unique.
Yes, it needs to be unique.
Yeah. McCartney...
And we can go more into that later, probably.
Yeah, I know that... uniqueness is a really big thing. It needs to be funny, obviously, and it needs to have a wide range of characters.
Yes.
At least for me. And I know McCartney, at least, like, for me, uniqueness is more of a want, but for McCartney, it's a need. Because, at least, I feel like from what we've seen, the best thing that you can do with really in any speech event is choose a script or something
that will stand out.
Yeah, that stands out. It helps you win.
And also, it's the judge is more likely to remember it.
Exactly. Because
which is always a good thing.
Yeah, if you're performing the same script, like, if they see it all the time, they're gonna be like, oh, it's this thing again.
And they're most likely, if they're bored and tired of it, not going to rank you very well.
Yeah.
Unless you did, like, phenomenal, like, crazy, like, absolutely mind-boggling out of this world. But our point is, it's always better to be unique and to stand out to your judges. And it's kind of funner doing more unique scripts, in my own personal opinion.
I agree.
I might have, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of a unique script freak, perhaps, because last year, when I first started competing, technically I did speech debate before last year, but I started competing last year, and I made a speech. It was an informative speech about, and it just basically, I hate olives, so the whole entire speech was just about how olives are bad. And because in info you're allowed to have a visual aid or a prop with your speech, my prop was an olive jar full of olives, and then I would throw them away in a trash can, and that was my visual aid. And it always stood out to judges. It was very controversial because a lot of judges didn't take it seriously or took it way too seriously.
I took it seriously.
You just have to, I don't know.
You have to understand.
You have to understand. So it was very controversial, but the judges who liked it, they loved it because it stood out.
Exactly.
And that sounds like a humble brag, but I honestly think it was kind of mid. Like, it was fine. It was an alright speech, but it was different from a lot of what other people were... It was different. Well,
I loved it.
From a lot of other people were doing, so it stood out to judges. And that's kind of why I, highly recommend doing a script that's unique.
100%. Yeah. And so, obviously, finding a unique script is...
Oh, it's so hard.
My biggest tip when you're looking for a script, at least if you're finding a unique one, use small websites. At least for finding scripts, what I usually do, I look up funny 10-minute scripts, multiple characters. And then I literally will scroll through websites until I find the, not well-known ones, and I just read for hours and hours on end.
It's so hard and it takes forever, but it's worth it. If you find a really good one, it's worth it, I promise you.
Yes. Also, consult your coaches. Yeah. I will say shout out to our coach, Rainey Spindle. She's the best. She does the bulk of finding a lot of unique scripts.
Yes.
So always ask your coaches for help. I will link some of my favorite speech websites down below.
Let's go!
I will be gatekeeping a few of them. But I suppose I will give you a few of
you can't do
the best
that.
ones. I know, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry that Astrid is gatekeeping from you guys. I don't even know any of these websites that she's gonna
I've
link.
showed you them before.
It's fine. Okay.
It's fine. Moving on.
So, another need that I heard you list was multiple characters. And I feel like, for me, I love it when people in humorous duet, each person plays multiple characters. But I feel like for me, that's more of a want. It's more of a preference, but I'd rather see, a script that's really unique and stands out and it's absolutely phenomenal than, a script that's, kind of popular but has a lot of characters.
Yeah, that's totally fair. For me, it's a need mostly just... This is kind of a personal preference, but I have seen... It kind of goes with uniqueness. When I'm watching HD rounds, I see a lot of scripts where it's kind of just two characters going along a funny scenario. And while that's great, and I think it can be good, I think it's better when you have multiple characters because it shows your ability just as an actor.
Yes.
And, I don't know, it's just fun to switch it up. It keeps your judges on their toes. Because if you're just doing the same characters, it's easier to get bored. So it kind of goes hand in hand with uniqueness.
That's true. No, I think that's fair as well. But, like you said, I think multiple characters kind of goes on with along with uniqueness because a lot of HD scripts are just two characters. So I think maybe those kind of go hand in hand. But at the end of the day, uniqueness is a need.
It's at the top, honestly.
Uniqueness is a need.
It is a need. Speaking of wants, though, let's talk about some things that we want in a script. So for me, it's just kind of a want is when I'm looking at scripts, and me and McCartney talk about this a lot when we're choosing our script, the reason why it's so hard to cut movies and TV shows specifically is because they're very visually funny.
Yes.
We try and look for scripts that are, when I'm reading them, I can think of blocking as I'm reading the lines.
Yes, I do the same thing. That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
brainwave. We
had one time we were going to cut, what was it? It was a Barbie episode.
It was Life in the Dream House. I think it was the glitter shortage episode.
Yes, that one. And we were going to cut that one, but...
most of the funny parts are very visual. And you can do some visual stuff in HD, you can act stuff out, or if you're in a circuit that permits, sometimes you can use chairs in your speech. But there was one part in the glitter shortage episode where a glitter geyser gushes out of the ground. How are you supposed to act that out?
It's really hard to do that. Because the problem is, in HD, you do want it to be a storyline most of the time. That kind of is a, like, unspoken need, I feel that it needs to be a story
It's a need!
And so, like, if it's not making sense, no one's gonna get the storyline.
I wish I could act this out, okay, but,
like, nobody,
well, I wish I could act out what it would look like to act out a geyser, because nobody listening to this can see me right now.
That's true.
But I would literally look like a maniac. I don't know how you'd physically enact a geyser.
When we talked about it the other day, we were like, you just look like those floaty things outside car dealerships.
Yes, you look like
like
the
a worm.
like the inflatable man outside of a car dealership.
That's the geyser?
Yes!
Oh my god, it's a geyser!
Yes, I don't think... Well, the point is a judge would not think that you were a geyser, because when you see somebody flailing around, the first place that your mind would go would probably not be, oh, that's a glitter geyser.
It's going to be, oh, that's a worm. What's happening? So, sorry. When I'm choosing a script, a big want for me, I guess it's not a need, but it's a want to have a script that I can block really effectively.
Yes, and I will say, we're talking about tips and tricks later and blocking later in this episode, but blocking is very important. If you have blocking that stands out, judges will notice if they're good.
100%. I think that's one of my biggest wants. Honestly, as far as wants go, like, in general, obviously, we already talked about needs. For wants, really, it's, having something that has a good amount of blocking, and then well-developed characters is another want for me.
Yes.
Agreed. Yeah, the best... Agreed. I think, for me, when you're doing a script, me and McCartney always try and make our scripts almost personal in a way.
Yes.
And so...
Yes.
I feel like every character that we have in our script, even if some of them are a little silly, a little crazy, they do have a purpose to the storyline. Yes. And they have, like, very distinct characteristics about them that help them to stand out. And so if I'm reading a script and you've got a random guy named Kyle just coming in and talking about some random thing and then he just disappears and doesn't really drag the storyline at all, I would either just cut that or not use the script. Yeah. That's just a want for me. I don't know, McCartney, do you have any other wants in your scripts?
I don't know. I think I kind of agree with your wants. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, should we move on to wishes? Because I feel like you kind of covered everything in once.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's move on to wishes.
Our wishes for HD.
Wishes are very loose because this is something that you would pretty much never find in a script. But
in your dream world, scripts.
Perfect script. My biggest wish is to have a script that is already, 11 minutes long, so I only had to cut a tiny part.
Or a script that's 10 minutes long, so you don't have to cut anything.
That's a wish for me, having scripts that meet the time.
Yeah.
It's not a need or a want, but I hate cutting hour-long scripts. It takes so much time. It is so hard. That's another problem with cutting movies. You have to cut...
Oh, if you're cutting a movie into a script, good luck with that.
Yeah. Because you have to cut so much of it.
Yes.
And it's hard because, again, going back to the, story arc... You can't... There's only so much you can cut.
Yeah, it's difficult to cut something as long as a movie into 10 minutes and still make the plot feel like an entire story arc.
Yeah, exactly. So in my perfect world, as a wish, having a script that's pretty, relatively close on time is a huge wish for me.
Legit.
I don't know about you. Any wishes, McCartney?
A wish? Honestly, I don't know if this should qualify as... I guess a wish. I don't know. Let me explain. Okay.
I'm ready.
Let me pose a conundrum for you. So, obviously, HDs have to be funny because it's in the name. Humorous duet. But a lot of times, people make their scripts funny. Like, you may get, a script on a piece of paper and read it through and think, oh my gosh, this is so mid. But if you keep working on it and adding blocking, adding character voices, changing things up, and just kind of making it your own, you can make a kind of mid-script funny if you really try.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've seen. So I guess in a dream world with a perfect script, my perfect script would have lines written into it that on paper are making me crack up like freaking Humpty Dumpty, like it's so great.
Humpty Dumpty.
Yes!
I agree. Every time I read Humpty Dumpty, it's a laughing fest.
And maybe I'm biased because I just love Camp Bigfoot and I feel like a lot of their written in lines are so funny, but
it is. It's really funny.
I love Camp Bigfoot, guys.
Yeah, that is a really good wish, is just like having a script, and it's a doable one, I think.
Yeah.
When you're reading scripts,
It's not, that's why I said I don't know if it's exactly a wish, because it's possible, it's just very hard to find.
It's rare. Yeah, it's really rare. And sometimes you won't even get it the first time you read through a script. Sometimes you have to, like, double read and you'll, like, chuckle.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. Speaking of scripts, before we move on to blocking, because I feel like that's a whole different phase, we have to talk about cutting scripts.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot to include this kind of in, like, our outline for what we were going to talk about, but that's okay. We're just going to wing it, as one would say. As the theater kids would say, we're going to improv it.
Oh, improvisation.
So, when you're cutting a script, in my opinion, cutting your script is probably the most strategic part of creating a humorous duet. Everybody cuts their scripts differently. Everybody does it differently. But again, it's probably the most important part.
I don't know about most important, because I feel like all of it's kind of... Like, blocking is important.
That's true.
Character voices are... Well, I guess part of that comes from cutting, because you have to, like, cut a script to keep the character development. Whoa, brainwave.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, no, cutting a script a certain way is very important and strategic.
So when you're cutting your scripts, the biggest thing, again, I've said this so many times, but the story arc is so important. You need to have some kind... Oh, here we go. We're going back into 8th grade English. When you are cutting your script, it should have your exposition.
Oh, no.
You need to have the rising action and your inciting incident.
That's inciting incident is before the rising action. And then the climax. And then the falling action. And then the departation. Departure.
Do you mean the resolution?
You're departing from the story.
Yeah, I agree.
They're
waving goodbye.
Yeah, that's how I...
Like that one scene from Wicked, you know, when she's like doing the like...
Yes.
Ding-a-ling. You know what I mean? Anyway, so when you're cutting your script, obviously it doesn't have to follow that perfectly, but you gotta have a story.
Yes.
Because if
Give me a tale to be enthralled within.
Exactly. Because in Humorous Duet, because you're cutting scripts and movies and stuff, it's not supposed to be just like cracking jokes. It's not stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
It has to have some kind of story. So make sure that you're keeping that in mind as you cut your scripts, just in general. I think other than that, a lot of it is personal preference.
That's so true.
Everybody's going to cut it differently. The way me and McCartney cut it would be wildly different from you. And we will give some more kind of like personal tips on cutting scripts later.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about one of the most important parts of Humorous Duet.
Let's go.
This is McCartney's... It is! It's McCartney's favorite part. Blocking.
Actually, I kind of hate blocking. It stresses me out. But I like doing it once we already have it.
Okay, that's fair. Blocking is basically, if you're not, I guess, a part of the speech and debate community, first of all, wow, I really congratulate you for sitting through, like, 20 minutes of this.
Of us yapping about something you don't even know about.
Blocking is just the word for the movements or the specific ways that you utilize your surroundings.
Just basically what you're doing with yourself in your speech.
Yeah.
Like, one part of blocking, maybe, let's say you're chasing each other around and you're HD because you just robbed a bank, and your HD partner is a cop and they're running after you. Where you run and the fact that you're even running is blocking.
That was a beautiful example.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's basically what it is. And it is the... it takes so long. I'm trying to remember. Tedious. It's the most tedious part.
It's so tedious.
But blocking is what makes your script come alive.
Yes.
Like, truly. So we're gonna kind of split this up into two different parts. I just said different parts. Into two different parts. Some sub points, if you will.
I love sub points.
Yes.
That's a debate thing, so that doesn't matter. But
it's okay. We're gonna talk a little bit about if your circuit allows chair blocking.
Yes.
And then we're also gonna talk about NSDA specific blocking, because it's very different. So I guess we'll just start with like what blocking is like, at least in our area, in our state, because it's very different from NSDA.
Hey Astrid, what even is chair blocking?
What a great question!
Oh,
yay! So in some different circuits around the little country, if you will, some people allow what is known as chair blocking, or chairs. Basically, what you get to do in your HD, especially where me and McCartney are in Oklahoma, you get to have two different chairs that you can use in your speech. These chairs, I swear, are the best thing that's ever happened to me. Legit. As far as speech and events go.
Honestly, they are a pain to take to tournaments.
Okay, true. They are.
But they're so worth it, because, at least for us, a lot of our blocking is either around the chairs or on the chairs.
Exactly.
So, literally, most of what we're doing is all around our chairs. And without them, it's just not the same.
It's just not the same. I think, like, specifically with the chair blocking, obviously, in speech and debate, you don't get any props. You don't get costumes. In some events, you get a binder. But having a chairs is the biggest advantage in the world. If you are in a circuit that allows chairs,
use them.
Because even though the NSDA doesn't allow chairs, you can create separate blocking for like nationals and districts. But in your state, I have seen multiple teams who don't use chairs, and they always do place a little bit lower. Not saying that you can't have a really incredible speech without chairs, but if people...
I feel like it helps your speech stand out more and gives you more blocking opportunities.
100%. So, at least in our state circuit, we're allowed the use of chairs.
Yes.
You can do so many things with these chairs.
Yes. We have one part where I jump off of the chair and I throw a basketball into a hoop. We don't even play basketball in our speech, but I have that.
Yep. I've seen one person use it as a horse.
Yes.
So
that was really smart.
I know, it was so good. We use it as a couch. You can use it as a tree, a bush, literally almost anything you can think of, the chair could probably be. Even possibly a glitter geyser. It may not look like a glitter geyser, but you can imagine that it is a glitter geyser.
You can picture it in your head.
Picture it. If you do events like a monologue, for instance, I know they allow chairs. I don't know if they do in the NSDA circuit, but anyway, the point is, chairs are a huge advantage. They're a huge part of blocking.
So if you can use them, use them! Hey, that was fire.
That was so good. High five.
Really
that was
good.
Great.
Hey, that was
good. We're cooking today. But let's talk a little more about blocking in general. McCartney, when you're blocking a speech, what's like the first thing you do when it comes to blocking?
Honestly, when I'm reading through a script after I've picked it out, I kind of try to picture what it would look like in my head. So the first things that I do in blocking is I write down just the first things that I think of when I read a line.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that's going to vary on the person or whoever you are. Like, the first thing I think of when I read, there was a mouse behind the tree. What I come up with in my head might be me, like, peeking around the tree and looking for a mouse. But what the first thing you might think of is being the mouse behind the tree.
Exactly, you are the mouse.
I don't know. That didn't really make sense. But I guess what I'm saying is just what I do is the first thing I go through and I read a script and I write down the first things I think of. And then I go into, like, I guess I just get extra, I don't want to say nitpicky, but I don't have any other word for it. I go in there and I just block stuff, like, really smaller details.
Yeah, I agree. So the thing with blocking too is as you do your script, you will get more and more blocking. Like, you will go to tournaments and get ideas for blocking. I've been walking in my room. No, I've been walking like around my house sometimes, and I just think in my head like, oh my god, I need to add this to our blocking, and then I text McCartney.
Yes,
because blocking does take a really long time. It's a long process.
Yes.
So once you get that, like, first blocking done, then, like you said, you kind of get to go in.
Yes.
The way that Rainey has us do it, this is at least what she says to the novices, is you start by going paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence, and then word by word.
Yes. I think that's kind of what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Is start with big, more general blocking stuff, and then, as you go back over your script, add tinier, more tedious details.
Exactly. And there is obviously, so there's physical blocking and then there's, like, sound blocking, if that makes sense. They're two different things. We talked a lot about, like, physical blocking. That's obviously where your body is, what you're doing with your arms.
I like sound blocking.
Yes. Sound blocking, though, is one that is a little less talked about, but just as useful, I think.
I love sound blocking because it's easier to do, and it's fun to make different sounds, at least in my opinion.
So, whenever you're watching, like, for instance, like, Nationals HGs, you'll hear a lot of different sound effects, and these are all made by the performers. So, when you are blocking, a huge part is obviously going to be these sound effects. So, we have a lot of different ones in our speech, I think. You do a pen noise.
Yes, there's one part where I pick up a piece of paper and I make a little whoosh sound.
Yeah.
And then I click a pen. There's one part where we're picking berries off of bushes and we make little sounds for those.
Yeah, I open a cabinet.
Yes.
That's a sound. Like, we do sounds for almost everything because in humorous duet, one of your main goals is to make the audience feel like they're in the performance. Almost like they're part of it.
Yes.
Or at least, like, watching it unfold. And so having these sound effects sort of, like, makes that environment feel almost more real. Like, it's actually there.
It just kind of adds, like, a little layer.
Exactly.
A little layer, if you will.
Yeah. And sound effects usually are one of the, like, not the last parts of blocking that you add in, but they're usually, people add them more later on.
Yeah, well, compared to physical blocking, I would say physical blocking is really a main priority when it comes to blocking your script, but sound effects are easier to come up with typically because depending on what you're doing physically, you can make up a sound effect that just goes along with that. So typically, they're just easier to add after you do your physical blocking. They're easier to put in last.
Exactly. So once you have that main blocking, a lot of more opportunities open up. And again, the thing that I wish I saw more performers do is adding in those sound effects because it enhances the performance so much. It's so important.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So if you have a part in your speech, for instance, where you are dropping a metal water bottle on the floor.
Oh my gosh, that's a really hard sound effect to
It is a really hard sound effect. But you could, I don't know, stomp your foot and make a little clink sound at the same time.
Oh yeah, there's one part where I play like a dad in our speech and I'm lifting weights and I drop the weights because they're really heavy and I stomp my foot instead of making like a clank sound with my mouth because that doesn't sound realistic if I just say clank,
clank,
crash.
Yeah.
It sounds more realistic if I like stomp on the ground.
Yeah. And so like it'll be something that everybody does differently. Again, this is humorous is so much up for interpretation.
I get it.
It's
because
funny
it's it's an interp event.
It's hilarious. Okay, that was really funny.
It's funny if you get it.
What? So yeah, everybody's gonna do sound effects differently, and as you do your speech, you will like literally just kind of discover sounds that you can make.
Yes, that's so true.
Like for instance, McCartney makes a really good like pen clicking sound that I can't do it. Every time it just sounds like I'm clicking I don't know.
I just like make like a clicking sound with my tongue on half of my mouth.
I can't do that.
So it's
I
kind
feel
of
like I almost had it that time.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like it might sound weird on this recording. It sounds better in real life.
It's better. It's better.
I actually swear. But I don't know.
Yeah. So everybody's gonna have different ways that they do that. So just as you're going through your speech, just like think to yourself, hey, what sound could I make here? what noise could I portray?
Think of your own special skills. What sounds can you make?
Stop. Yeah. So another part of sound blocking is transitions. So in a lot...
Yes! I love this.
Me too. This is something that I've seen Singleton and JAKSON do in their speech, but it's something that we do in our speech, and a lot of
people,
nationals.
yes, on nationals, a lot of people do this.
Yes! And again, it's something that I wish I saw more of. So when you're doing a humorous duet, I will say some speeches don't have transitions to different scenes, but most of them do.
Yes.
So if you do have those transitions, which you should, because transitions are epic.
It's just basically when you're switching scenes in your speech.
Yes. And so what you can do is add in a distinct sound.
Yes.
Because this helps the audience to not only see to be able to recognize that the scene is changing, but it also in a way kind of gives you more time to do like a character snap.
Yes, it makes, I don't know, at least for me, I feel like it makes my snaps look cooler. I don't know. We only recently added in our transition sound effects, so we haven't gotten to compete with it with sound effects.
Yeah.
For transitions at least. But we recently added it in, and I'm so joyous because I feel like now whenever I'm switching characters, I look really cool because we have a sound effect with it.
It's also just really fun to do. Some speeches will do like a swoosh. Some people will do like a swoosh. Everyone does it. It's really fun. Also, shout out to Maddie Mabe for suggesting that we added a sound effect switch.
Yes!
I think everyone should. They're really great. They're helpful.
They're life-changing.
They are life-changing. And there are so many that you can do.
For us,
it's a zip.
Yeah, for us, we do zip because it's a Camp Bigfoot. It's like zipping up a tent.
Yes. So, yeah, that's how do you get it? It's funny. So we go zip, like, every time we're changing a scene.
Yes.
Anyway, it's really fun. I think that's a huge part of vlogging. And again, when it comes to vlogging and all the other things that we've talked about so far, it's so much up to how you want to do it and what your coach wants to see. But those are just some basic things you should know when you're blocking a script.
Or at least what we personally look for and suggest.
Exactly.
And
recommend. So, let's talk a little bit about partner chemistry.
Yes.
Because this is actually, again, okay, I've said it about every single topic. I go, this is actually one of the most important parts. The reality is, all of it's important.
All of the parts are the most important parts.
Wow, that was really, what's the word?
Poetic.
That was really poetic. Right around Valentine's Day, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway.
Moving on.
Moving on to partner chemistry. When you are choosing who you want to do an HD with, you need to keep in mind a few things. First of all, in some circuits, at least in our state circuit, you can touch each other. I know you can't in the NSDA, but you need to choose someone who you're comfortable doing that with. Like, if that makes sense.
Like, I don't know. There was this one HD that we saw, and there were two people. Obviously, there's two people.
There were two people.
But one person was, like, standing there with, like, her arms out, and the other one, like, flipped over, like, did, like, a kind of cartwheel in the air over her arms and landed next to her. So, I mean, I'm not saying you have to do gymnastics over each other, but I guess just pick someone who you're comfortable, like, being crazy, cuckoo.
Yeah, being, like, someone who you are comfortable physically interacting with.
Yes.
And who you know, like, works well in that sense, if that makes sense.
Pick something that you... Pick someone. Pick someone that you work well with. Like,
exactly.
I mean, obviously for us, we're like best friends.
Locked in.
But if you and your best friend, you know for a fact that you cannot lock in together, and every single time that you try to say one word from a script, you're going to burst into laughter. As fun as it may be to burst into laughter with them, they're probably not the person you want to pick as your HD partner.
It's like, you know, when you were in elementary school and your teacher was like, we're going to be watching a video, so if you're sitting next to someone that you think you're going to laugh with, you need to move
Yes,
seats.
it's like that.
It's like that.
It's like that.
So choose someone that you know you can work with, because you're going to be spending a lot of time doing your script.
Also, don't pick, like, somebody that you're super annoyed by or that you hate. Don't pick your worst enemy, because HDs take a long time to work on.
They do.
So do not pick someone that you absolutely despise. I would hope you wouldn't do that anyway, but...
Yeah. The best person to pick is either a best friend that you know you can lock in with, or an acquaintance that, like,
you know each other well enough and you're comfortable around, but you also know that you can work well together.
Exactly. As far as that, there's also just generally how you, like, appear together. I think this is something that you can't really control, and it's more just, like, how it works. But for me and McCartney, anytime we've had, like, at least our own teammates watch our speech, the biggest thing I hear is always, you guys just bounce energy off of each other, which is a huge thing, I feel like. If you're doing a speech, specifically a humorous duet, where one of you is more excitable and the other is kind of, like, lagging behind almost, it's not gonna work well together.
Yeah.
It has to be, like, balanced energies, if that makes sense, I guess. You need to be able to kind of bounce off of each other. And that's just something, sometimes it comes with time, sometimes it comes with experience, and sometimes it's just, it literally, you just can't control it, and it just depends on the person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it's not about being, like, totally, I guess, contrary to each other, because if you both are, like, if you're two characters in a speech, one of them is, like, super annoyed and grumpy all the time, but the other is, like, bouncing off the walls, crazy, energetic, but that's your characters, that's a different thing than just, like, your partner chemistry.
Exactly.
Because if, let's say, you're so excited and you want to do this HG and it's gonna be your favorite thing in the world and you're gonna have so much fun doing it, but then your HG partner is like, I don't want to be here, then your speech isn't gonna feel balanced, and it's probably not going to be very fun to do.
Exactly.
And might not be very great to watch.
Exactly, because people can tell. Like, I have watched some performances where I can tell that one of them is just, their heart just isn't fully in it, and that's okay.
Which is fine. It just means that that's probably not the person that you would want to choose as your partner, and if they don't want to do it, then that should... That should be fine with them by not wanting to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, just choose someone overall that you know you're going to work well with, and you know that you're comfortable enough with. Because outside of just, like, doing, like, blocking and stuff, like we said, you spend a lot of time together. HGs do take a lot of practice. They take a lot of blocking.
Oh, they take a lot of time.
They take a lot of time. And so you have to be able to really work well together. That's the biggest takeaway from that.
Yes.
As far as partner chemistry goes. So we're going to talk a little bit, just to kind of, I guess, close out, really. I know.
I love HD.
Me too.
It's our favorite
event. We're going to talk a little bit more about, like, some personal tips and tricks. Obviously, we've provided a lot throughout this episode, but we're going to give you some highlights. And we're also going to talk about what judges look for, and just a little sub thing, how to handle some performance stress.
Yes.
Because HD is a huge, obviously, performing event. But first, let's just talk, I guess, a little bit about, like, what judges look for in HD. It's going to be different in every single circuit. Keep in mind where you live, because this is just, obviously everyone knows the political state of our world right now. While I know me and McCartney sure aren't happy with it, you are going to come across judges, especially
that might have differing opinions from you.
Exactly. So keep in mind that when choosing your script, and try and stay away from things like that, just because you are gonna come across judges, and while they're not supposed to be biased while judging, it happens anyway.
It happens a lot, in fact. But, I guess just, honestly, how to appeal to your judges is gonna be different for every single judge, but some things that I find generally work are, like, again, good blocking, but, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean...
Really?
Yeah. Good blocking, I feel like, stands out a lot.
Yeah, good blocking is one of the biggest things they look for. And generally, I will say, a lot of the people who judge speech and debate are parents. Or people who, like, have sort of done speech and debate and maybe don't fully know the event they're judging. I've gotten a lot of debate coaches judging intro who are, like, mainly there to judge debate, but then also have to judge speech, and they don't really know what's happening. So the biggest thing that genuinely will get you a higher ranking is if you make them laugh. Like,
oh, yes.
Genuinely. It's hard to do that, obviously.
Yes.
You'll get judges who just kind of stand there with a straight face. But generally, judges are just going to obviously click down the ones that make the room and people laugh the absolute most.
So find
ways to make them laugh.
Find ways to make them absolutely guffaw.
Guffaw!
Yes!
I love that word. That's so good. My favorite word is smithereens.
Dude, I love the word margins.
Margins!
I love margins, but we're getting off
Margins.
topic.
Okay, I'm sorry. And then, again, just another, side part, how to handle performance stress.
Yes.
Humorous Duet is a performance event, obviously.
Because you're acting something out.
Exactly. And it is a little bit harder because you have a duet partner, meaning that if you get stressed out, they're probably going to get stressed out. And so you have to try and keep your stress to a minimum.
Hey, Astrid!
Yeah.
How can I keep my stress to a minimum?
That's a great question! I'll provide you with some helpful tips.
Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome. So, I still get nervous for performances sometimes.
Yeah.
And the best way I guess I'll just give, multiple different things that usually help me. Although, it is really hard for me to eat on tournament days, eating breakfast. Genuinely eating something before you get to the tournament. Some people can't hold food down, but if you can, eat food. It genuinely helps. Limit your caffeine intake. I say this as a person who drinks 3 coffees and an energy drink a tournament, but the more coffee you have, sometimes the worse your performance is. You don't want to be so jittery that you can't do
That's so true.
I did almost fall off a chair in our round one time.
I remember that, yes.
Limit your caffeine. Thirdly, this is gonna be... Okay, this is kind of a silly one, but genuinely breathing exercises do help. Doing the, square breathing thing.
The square breathing thing is awesome.
If you go to YouTube and you look up square breathing, and then you watch, a 5-minute breathing video.
That's awesome sauce.
Sometimes I do that if I'm feeling really nervous.
That's so awesome sauce.
And in general, just communicate with your partner, that you're doing the speech with. If you're feeling nervous, let them know that. It's okay to tell each other that stuff. Because sometimes it helps just letting it out, just talking about, the nervousness. But all in all, give it your best.
Yes.
Push through. You're always, no matter what, always probably going to feel a little bit nervous before you go up and perform. Sometimes you might not, but a good majority of the time you will. And the best thing you can do is shove it down and push through
Just push through.
Just do it. That's what helps me. When I'm giving my speeches, sometimes if I'm in a really bad rut, if I'm genuinely super anxious, I won't imagine that I'm giving my performance to a room full of speech and debate kids. I imagine that I'm giving it to the cast of a musical.
That's so awesome.
And that me and McCartney are showing them our epic skills. They'll cast us in a movie.
We're shocking everyone.
And we're shocking everyone. And so
yes, just fantasize.
Sometimes gaslighting yourself helps. But generally, just keeping calm and pushing on.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's those were some specifics, but in general, McCartney, if you had to talk to your younger McCartney self, and she said, help, what are your, I guess, we'll just say, top 3 tips for humorous duets?
For humorous
duets.
Tips and
this
tricks.
Is
okay, let's go.
Tricks.
Okay.
Top 3.
So, tips and tricks. Okay. Go all out. Just go crazy. I'm not even gonna... Well, I mean, obviously, you gotta be, pretty wacky because it's HD, but just be over the top.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Fair.
You're supposed to be kind of cartoonish, so...
I agree.
Do just that.
Second tip.
Communication. Communicate with your partner. Communicate with your coach. Talk about, what are we doing? What should we add? What do we need? What do you need from me? I need this from you. Blah, 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 blah. communicate. It's going to help you a lot. And the more you communicate, the stronger the stronger connection you're going to have with your partner, with your coach, and the better your speech will be.
Agreed.
Agreed. Yeah. My final tip is, I guess this kind of goes along with my first tip, but just have fun with it. Nobody's going to think that your speech is that funny if you're up there and you hate what you're doing.
You hate your life. You're standing there. Yeah, I agree. For me, I guess my top 3 tips, my first one, McCartney already mentioned it, but communication.
Yes.
Once again, communicate with your HD partner.
Communication nation.
Yes, the whole part of HD is working well together and performing together. It's a team activity. So act like a team. Do it together. Communicate with your partner and your coach and other people involved.
Yes.
My second biggest tip would be finding time outside of like school and class hours to work on it.
Oh, yes.
This is something that genuinely has helped me so much. You are so limited within the hours of like your school, or some people, their speech and debate team meets as like a club. So, like, genuinely, I feel like every time that me and McCartney, while we do get a little off track, meeting up and genuinely locking in and working on your blocking, even just doing a run-through, is a huge help.
Yes.
Schedule time outside of school to do it.
Yes.
That's, like, my second biggest...
Agreed.
Yes. That's my second biggest tip. My third biggest tip would be to choose a script that you can connect with in a way. Obviously, the funny scripts that you're doing are probably not going to be, like, crazy relatable or anything, but, like, part of the reason why Camp Bigfoot is so special to me is I go to a summer camp every single year, and so, like, because the script revolves around, like, 2 camp counselors, in a way, I kind of have my own personal experience that I can connect with the scripts. So, when you're choosing a script, this goes back to, choosing scripts, choose one that you can personally connect with, at least in a little bit of a way.
Yes, wait.
With your own characters. For instance, like,
awesome.
For me, camp counselor, that's a huge thing. For McCartney, she does one character voice that is based off a character on TikTok that she saw.
Okay, so I think this just, like, generated an idea of another tip for you. Obviously connect with your script, but if you're not instantly connected by the concept of your script, find a way to connect to it. Do what you know that you're good at and what you enjoy doing, because there's, obviously in our piece we have multiple characters. I think we've said that. But, like, we turned these characters into something that we wanted them to be. Like, there's this one part where I'm a camper, and I base the voice off of, if you know, like, Fergus and Zyler on TikTok. I base the voice off of Fergus because I think it's really funny, and I like doing his voice. Yeah. So I made him into a little camper at our camp, and we've gotten multiple comments on ballots that judges are like, oh my gosh, I love the voice for the little camper.
Just, like, finding a way to connect with it if you don't already have one.
Just make it your own.
Make it your own. Even, especially if you're cutting a script that maybe isn't as unique, like a movie that's well known, for instance, don't make the characters the same way that they are in the movie. We're not trying to watch the movie.
I mean, obviously don't change the story, but just, like, personalize it.
Make the characters your own characters. Like, for instance, if I'm watching a Frozen rendition, I don't want to see the same old Elsa and Anna. I don't know, maybe make Elsa a stay-at-home mom.
And then Anna is a valley girl. She hates everyone.
Exactly. Like, obviously their characters still have the same storyline, but they talk and they present themselves differently than they would in the movie. That's huge thing.
Entertaining to the judges.
And it's different, so that we're not just watching, we're just watching Frozen, except high school edition. Because you want it to be unique.
Yes.
That's, I think, another huge thing.
Indeed.
So yeah, I think pretty much that is most of our tips and tricks. I hope that this was helpful. Me and McCartney love to talk about HD.
Yes, we could yap about it all day. That's probably why this episode is longer than usual.
It is. It's really long. I have my work cut out for me. It's okay, though. If you do have any more questions, feel free to contact us through Instagram at That's Time Speech and Debate. We also have a YouTube. Sometimes we'll do polls on there, so you can contact us there. which, speaking of YouTube, we will have this episode up on YouTube. And
Yes.
also episode 2, sorry for the delay on those.
This is for you, Kaden.
This is for you, Kaden. Shout out. So yeah, with all of that, I'm pretty sure that's time.